Um, Thanks for taking the time out of the afternoon. I know it can be tough to dig out some time in the middle of the day like this, so we appreciate that. And for this month's webinar, what we're going to explore is how to maximize lead flow, and those mediums that we're going to be looking at are primarily Google based. So we're going to look at PPC, Google Ads, local service ads, even the map ads as well. All of that's going to be related back to primarily Google platforms. And we're going to take a look at how you can use these tools to essentially turn the faucet on and off when it comes to leads, so that you can use it when you have some bandwidth, and you can turn it off when things are pretty full and you no longer need to keep your foot down on the accelerator. So we're going to take a look at that today, and we're going to go through a number of different items. So for example, the first thing that we're going to go through is who we are. I have Braden here, who's one of our paid campaigns specialists, and he's going to be talking a little bit about some of the granular details about the campaigns and how to set them up properly. We'll talk a little bit about branched out marketing, and we'll talk about Braden and myself. We'll give you an introduction, who we are, and why it is that we're even here talking to begin with. Right? We'll cover why paid marketing is that scalable platform, like we talked about, where you can really match it to the appetite of leads that you have, right? You can increase the spends, increase the leads. You can decrease the spend and decrease those leads. So we'll also take a look at what paid marketing strategies are working best in today's market. It is an ever-changing platform, and so it's very, very important to make sure that we don't stick with one strategy, that we update it as the best practices evolve. We will take a look at some live examples of paid marketing campaigns with our clients that are right now generating between 5 and 15 times the return on investment for other arborist companies. And what that'll let us do is take a look at some of the metrics that we're following to make sure that these campaigns are healthy. And it will also allow us to take a look at how we turn these metrics into benchmarks for what we deem to be successful campaign. Braden's going to talk in depth about how to set up and structure your pay-per-click marketing campaigns. This is going to take a look at how we can minimize the cost per lead and obviously, conversely, maximize the return on investment. He'll go through a lot of the key performance indicators, some of the methods that we find are helpful in tracking. He'll talk about the benefits of creating landing pages that are dedicated to the individual services that you're targeting. And they'll talk about the campaign structures and how that ultimately will help drive leads into the business and reduce the cost that each lead is associated. Right? So you're here to listen to a talk from Branched Out Marketing. My name is Phil Bartos. I am the owner. I have 20 plus years of industry experience within marketing generally. I am the owner of Marketing Blends, which is a general agency that has been around for over 12 years. And we, Braden, myself, and a number of a small team has taken off, and we've created Branched Out Marketing, where we've taken some of the clients in the arborist and tree service space that we worked with within Marketing Blends, and we've taken them and gone out and done an agency that all we do is work with arborists and tree service companies. And we found that this has been an excellent opportunity to become very well versed in the challenges that the industry itself faces, and to understand what really works within the space, and to be able to create customized solutions that are very easy to repeat over and over. We have built our business over the last 12 plus years through an unbelievably high retention rate, over 95%. And we've done that without the use of restrictive, constrictive contracts that prevent people from going out and exploring. We have achieved that retention rate by delivering consistent results and getting people to want to stay as a result of the actual impact that it's having on their business, not as a result of a contract that's keeping them. We are big proponents of responsible, accountable marketing initiatives. And what I mean by that is that we treat every dollar invested as if it were owned. And it means that we have to see some sort of multiple return on each of those dollars that's invested within marketing. So that's my background. I'll let Braden talk a little bit about himself, introduce himself, and then we'll jump right into things. So when we started Branched Out Marketing, we essentially asked ourselves, what is it that we want to achieve? We had, as I said, this was born out of a general practice, general agency. And when we started Branched Out Marketing, we did so because A, we had a lot of success with the arborist clients that we had, and B, we also enjoyed working with them. And so when we sat down and started really mapping out what we wanted to do with Branched Out Marketing, we decided that our mission was to double sales for 200 clients. And although this is a lofty goal for a number of reasons, we have seen over the past 12 months that it is not only achievable, but that it is probably something that we'll be surpassing sooner rather than later. And so it is certainly an exciting thing, and it's exciting to see the marketing initiatives that we have put in place for our clients to, in fact, have that impact on not only their visibility and everything like that, but most importantly, on the bottom line of each of the companies that we work with. So how is it that we go about doubling the sales for 200 clients? Well, we've developed an accelerated growth model. And this accelerated growth model really focuses in on 3 different areas where marketing can impact a tree service or arborist company. The first is driving leads. And to achieve that, what we can do, we can use organic SEO, We can use paid search, which will be the focal point for our discussion today. And then you have database marketing, which essentially allows you to stay in touch with those clients that decided not to go with you the first time around, but also to the existing client base and really upsell them and keep in touch with them front and center so that when they do need additional services, they don't go back to searching for what is out there and available. They come straight to you. The other area where marketing can impact a business, maximizing conversions. And you can do that through proper website design and call to actions. You can also do that through reputation management, making sure that people that are out there looking for a service know exactly how good you guys are at delivering the services that you do. And the third way is automation. And marketing automation can not only increase your conversions by staying in touch with existing clients or existing prospects, but it can increase the conversions right from the onset by ensuring that the minute that lead comes in, they have some sort of definitive contact from you, which offers them the option to book in that consultation. So automation is a great tool for conversion, and we'll have a brief chat at the end about that. And then optimizing results. That's the final way in which marketing can really impact the bottom line of the businesses that we work with. We ensure that we keep a close eye on the return on investment. We make sure that we take all the measures necessary to decrease the average cost per lead, and we keep a close eye on total spend so that we make sure that we are investing in marketing and not just burning through dollars and cents. So we've adopted this accelerated growth model, and as I mentioned to you before, we will be focusing in today on the discussion on the paid campaigns, where we really are trying to get targeted leads, where we maximize that lead volume that comes in without overspending for them, and making sure that we get qualified leads that are not just tire kickers. And so that's what the discussion here today is going to be. So we'll take a look very briefly at some of the metrics that we keep an eye on all the campaigns that we're running. And this is an example here from a PPC campaign from one of the clients that we work with. And I'll go through some of these metrics and give you some sort of indication why they are so important and some of the information that we can take away from them. So the first one, and most obvious and arguably the most important, are how many leads are we getting out of that? And so there's a number of different ways that we can take a look and measure the number of leads. You can activate that directly within the Google platforms. But beyond that, and Braden will talk about that a little bit as well, is that there are third-party platforms that allow us to take a look and directly see where the calls are coming from and where are the form submissions coming from, so that we can directly attribute the right number of leads towards the different platforms. So in this particular case, we saw that over the course of the month, they had 145 leads that came in from their PPC campaign. Their total investment, obviously it's an important number to keep in mind, was $3,000 for that month, which brought the average cost per lead to $20.65. At $20.65, there's not an arborist that we have come across that wouldn't continue with a campaign like that, because they're confident that they'll be able to convert a fair number of those leads into jobs going forward. So the average cost per lead, typically we see our clients to be comfortable with any range that goes below $50 as an example. The next number that we take a look at is a search impression share. And what that means is how many times out of all the times that the people are searching for a certain keyword that we're interested in appearing for, how many times is our ad appearing? So that's a number that can fluctuate significantly based off of a number of different variables, the level of competition in the area, the areas that you are targeting as a whole. And so we try to keep these not so much as a benchmark against the industry as a whole, but rather against the campaign historically. So we try to make sure that we're in the right ranges based off of your individual campaign in the past. The next metric is search lost impression share as a result of budget. And what that means is, in a world where no budgets existed, how many of those impressions that we could have had if our budget didn't come into the equation, how many of those impressions could have we had? How many additional impressions we could have had? So in this particular instance, we didn't appear 20% of the time when people were searching for the keywords that we were interested in, and we didn't appear as a result of the fact that our budget for the day was eaten up and we were no longer in the running for those. So that's something that we do want to keep an eye on, and it's not to say that it's a bad thing to keep that number above zero. You can manage it and essentially change that metric based off of your appetite for new leads. And as we talked about before, if you can no longer take on clients, you may want to take that foot off the accelerator, and you can do that instantly. And then obviously your search lost impression share number would be a little bit higher. So what that allows us to do is to take a look that in this case, that if you do have an additional appetite to be seen, you can increase your budget for that month for $3,600, and you would eliminate essentially that 20.4%, which lost impression share as a result of the budgets. The next metrics that we take a look at are the number of impressions, which is the number of times that our ads is seen. Beyond that, the clicks, how many times people are actually clicking on the ad and coming to our site. This gives us the click-through rate, and that is, in this case, is 4.54%. And we want to make sure that we are above 4% in all the campaigns that we're going. And why that 4% is important is simply because of the fact that if we are below, then we know that we are either not targeting the right audience with our messaging, or the ads that we're putting in, the text ads that we're putting out there, are not appealing enough to the audience that we want to target. So we want to make sure that we're above that 4% in the click-through rate. The 14.78% that we have, that number is the absolute top impression share, which means how many times our ad is the first ad that appears. We don't want that to be 100% because it might be a little bit counterintuitive, but we want to make sure that we're in the top 2 to 3, but not necessarily in the top spot, because the amount that you are going to be paying for that top spot is typically a lot higher than for the second and third spots. Next metric is the cost per click, and that's $8.36. And again, we try to keep that as a barometer compared to past campaign results. We want to make sure that we are still getting those numbers, because it can fluctuate significantly by area and level of competition. And the final number is the search top impression share, which means the top 3, how many times we're appearing in the top 3. So what do we do with these metrics when we have them? So we have those metrics there. What are we using them for? Well, for all intents and purposes, with new clients, what we can do with these types of metrics is create a little bit of an assumption in terms of the revenue that we can generate. So if we take a look at this particular instance, we have the number of leads that are coming in at 145. If we make an assumption, and we typically talk to our clients about how many of the leads that you go out and put a proposal together for, how many are you converting? And if you're having a 40% conversion rate for that, we can assume that you're going to book 58 jobs out of that. Then the next question we have is, what's the average job size? And obviously there's going to be a big range on it depending upon what type of job, but over the course of the year, what is the average job size? And if we have that assumption at $950, what we can then see is what we are going to assume the actual return on investment will be. In this particular campaign, under these assumptions, under these metrics, it's $55,100 on a spend of $3,000. So what that does is typically we take a look and we see that we project a typical ROI campaign for PPC campaign to be at 7 times the budget. In this particular case, $55,100 in revenue for a $3,000 spend, it's a 15.3 times ROI. Now this allows us to make the projections, but what we do with our clients on a regular ongoing basis is we take a look at the number of leads that are coming in and actually attribute dollars and cents values to those leads so that we can accurately measure how much revenue is coming in, which then allows us to ensure that our campaigns are achieving that return on investment that we want to have out of it. So it's important to take a look. And when you're running your campaigns, make sure you keep these metrics in mind: the leads, the cost per lead, and of course, how much that's generating. Okay. Any sort of questions on the metrics and how we can use that to be able to identify whether or not we anticipate an appropriate return on investment? Any questions on that before we go on? Okay, so I'll turn it back over to Braden. He'll go through one of the third offers here, and then he'll go into some of the campaign settings that we need to have to ensure a great result. One thing you want to just note here is that these landing pages, they don't have to be built out to be the most appealing looking pages out there. They have one role and one role only, and that's to convert. And that's what the design is there to do, convert, not to look great necessarily. So we've had a lot of discussion there with regards to some granular best practices. And we've taken a look at that. We've seen how to set up the campaigns, what are some of those best practices, how we can measure. And that's what we do to generate the leads. And we talked about this last month in the webinar that we had, which talked a little bit about the marketing automations. And what we have seen right across the board with the clients where it's deployed is that the marketing automation is just has a huge benefit, both as we talked about with regards to staying in touch with your existing clients or those clients, the prospects that you didn't manage to sign the first time. If you're able to stay in front of them, the next time that they need something, you're top of mind and we'll get that call first without having to invest in lead generation. So that's one benefit. The other end of the spectrum for marketing automation and the benefit that it offers is when you have a lead that comes in, you are able to make a consistent response and an immediate response and a deliberate response, meaning that you continue to get in front of those leads, even if they don't reply to you in the first little bit. So you get that immediate response. So Leads that are not followed up within the first 15 minutes of their submission go cold. So across industries, the research demonstrates that clearly. So if you are up and taking care of the day-to-day business and don't have an opportunity to respond to that lead for the next 5, 6, 7 hours, that lead has gone cold at that point in time. They want their issue to be addressed right then and there when they have it. The second element that we talked about is the frequency, right? Getting in front of that lead over and over again until they say yes or until they say no. So the average customer must be followed up with 5 to 7 times before they commit to booking. If you send off one email or one text, you are not giving that opportunity, you're not giving that lead the opportunity to flourish and to develop into a customer. So marketing automation ensures that there's a touch point system that's set up to continuously get in front of that client. And finally, what automation allows you to do is to communicate to those prospects in the way that they want to be communicated with. So if it's a younger demographic, they may want to just text message back and forth. You can do that through automation. If it's an older demographic, it might be a phone call. You can do that. Or conversely, they just may want to communicate on their schedule via emails. Again, with automation, you can do that. So that's why automation, and we talked about it last week, is such a good complementary piece to help the conversions in terms of the leads that are coming through that you've generated through your PPC campaigns. So before I turn it back over to Braden, I just want to say that there's a lot of information that we've discussed here. And of course, what we encourage you to do, if you have any questions about what we've discussed, any questions about your business at all, or the marketing that you've taken on, we're here to help. And we'll share some ways in which you can communicate directly with us and set up some one-on-one time to have that discussion. We encourage you to take advantage of that. Okay? And Braden, maybe you can talk about that last offer we have.